This is tofu. Really. I mean, I doctored it up a bit and I stuffed it with some holiday stuffing, but really, this is pretty much just tofu and you wouldn't know it. So let me show you how I made it. But first, we need to make our stuffing, and that is going to be pretty easy. I'm gonna grab some white bread. I'm using Dave's Killer Bread. This stuff is really good. Now, I first started to slice this with a chef's knife, and I realized I was just scrunching it up, so I switched over to a bread knife, and it was much easier, but we wanna cut this into small cubes. I'm gonna toss this onto a baking sheet. Make sure I have all of the crumbs. You need every piece of this bread to make stuffing. And I'm gonna toss this into my oven that was preheated at 250 degrees. That's gonna toast this up very mildly and let these dry out. Probably gonna take about 20 to 30 minutes depending on how fresh your bread is. Now the basics of the stuffing that I grew up with is really simple. It's just onion chopped up really fine, celery the same thing. We're gonna be using some rosemary, sage, and parsley, which I'll be honest, I forgot to pick up and I fixed that a little bit later. I'm also gonna toss in a little bit of garlic into this. Once everything's chopped really fine, I'm just gonna put a pan on a low heat. I'm gonna grab a stick of vegan butter, toss it in, melt it down, toss the onions in, sweat them off, get them nice and like translucent and soft, toss in the celery and the rest of the herbs, let that cook down for just a moment, and then I'm gonna add about 1.5 cups of vegetable stock or vegetable broth, whatever you have. It's about the same thing. Now I'm just gonna bring that up to a simmer, and at this point, the bread should be done. It should be nice and dry. So I'm gonna throw the bread into a bowl, and I'm gonna need an egg replacer. Now there's a lot of different things you can use, like different starches. I'm gonna be using Bob's Red Mill egg replacer. I love this stuff. It works really good. I'm gonna use 3 tablespoons, which might have been a little bit too much, but I like my stuffing to be nice and sticky and kind of like hold together really well. Now on top of that, I'm also gonna use a little bit of black pepper, salt, and then I added my parsley, and this is when I realized that I forgot it. Now we're gonna take our hot broth onion mixture and pour it over. Now you don't need to pour everything over because you could end up with too soggy or too many vegetables. I just did this a little bit at a time until I felt like I was pretty comfortable with the mix. I ended up using most of it, but not all. So I gave it a taste. It's really good, covered it up, and set it aside and let it rest for about 20-30 minutes, which is plenty of time for me to tell you about today's sponsor.
So I'm always feeling like my grocery store nut selection is lacking. And when they do have nuts, they're not that fresh. And that's why I want to tell you about today's sponsor. Nuts.com is your one-stop shop for freshly roasted nuts, dried fruits, sweets, pantry staples like specialty flours, and a lot more. Their wide selection means that there is something for everyone, like gluten-free options, organic choices, and other diet-friendly products. Whether you're looking for something sweet, savory, or just everyday cooking essentials, you're bound to find something to try. At Nuts.com, quality is a top priority. They roast their nuts and pop their corn the same day it ships, so they reach you deliciously fresh, and satisfaction is guaranteed. For me, I always like to keep a selection of nuts to snack on, use in recipes like for vegan creams, vegan cheeses. Their organic cashews are amazing. They work really great for that kind of stuff. And I just love how fresh everything is from Nuts.com. So gang, right now, Nuts.com is offering new customers a free gift with purchase and free shipping on orders of $29 or more at Nuts.com/Saucestache. So go check out all of the delicious options over at Nuts.com/Saucestache. You'll receive a free gift and free shipping on orders of $29 or more. That's Nuts.com/Saucestache. Nuts.com, thanks for sponsoring today's video and for always having incredible nuts. I love them.
Okay, we're back. Now it's time to make our tofu roast. This is just gonna be a test for me before the holidays, so that way I can tweak the seasoning or any of like the binding ingredients before I bring it over to family. But I'm gonna start with 2 packages of extra firm tofu, drained, not pressed. I'm gonna add 1 block of tofu into a food processor. We're just gonna do this 1/2 at a time so that way we don't bog down the food processor. I don't have a big one. And size does matter here. For the binding and texture, I'm gonna use 2/3 cup total of Vital Wheat gluten, so 1/3 at a time, and 1/4 cup total of cornstarch. So I'm just putting about 1/8 of cornstarch in here. I'm also gonna add some smoked paprika, garlic powder, and yeast extract. If you don't have yeast extract, maybe some nutritional yeast or maybe like a little tomato paste. We just wanna add some glutamate or savory flavors to this. Now we're just gonna pulse this together. We don't wanna mix it too much because I want there to be some tofu texture in here. I'm gonna transfer this over to a parchment lined baking sheet and then mix the other half together. Once both halves are done, I'm just gonna press them flat onto the baking sheet. I'm gonna use another parchment sheet to press it down flat, make it even, and that way it can also be covered in rest. It's only been about 10 minutes since we were finished with the stuffing, so we need about another 20 minutes or so for that, and that's gonna be plenty of time for the gluten to relax and kind of just form a little bit more. So after it's rested, I'm gonna uncover the tofu, fill one side of it with a little bit of the stuffing, and then roll the stuffing up kind of like a Hostess ho-ho. Once it's filled, I'm just gonna drop it into a loaf pan with the parchment sheet, and I have an oven preheated at 350 degrees. We're gonna let that go for about an hour. After the hour, I removed it from the oven, gave it a check. It's split, which is okay. That's actually the bottom. So I'm just gonna toss it onto a plate, flip it over so that way it's right side up, and we're gonna leave it covered up exactly how it is so that way it can kind of form and settle in the fridge overnight. That's the whole plan with this roast, is that I can have it all prepped and ready, and then it will just be reheated when we get to my in-laws. Now it's the next day and I have the oven preheated for 350 degrees. I'm gonna make a glaze, which is gonna give this a nice skin and some extra flavor. It's just going to be some maple syrup, soy sauce, black pepper, and some smoked paprika. Just whisk that up and then set this aside. Now we can pull our roast out of the fridge, toss it onto a baking sheet. I'm gonna remove the parchment paper that was in the fridge because it got a little wet. There's some moisture from overnight, but otherwise this looks amazing. It feels really good. So now we just need to brush a really light coat of our glaze over the entire tofu roast and toss it in the oven for about 45 minutes. That should be enough time. You want to get it to a temperature of around 135 degrees. I checked mine with a thermometer. Once it's done, this looks amazing. The skin and firmness are exactly what I was going for. It's slicing incredible, and look at that. This looks really good, like really good. I can't wait to hear what Monica has to say. Is this going to be the roast that we take to Thanksgiving for family?
Yeah, you bet them. Okay, here we go.
All right, I'm so excited.
Yeah, so just get a bite of the turkey, tofurkey, you know, first, and let me know what you think.
This is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay, thoughts?
Okay, well, I love the skin on the outside.
Does have a nice skin.
And it's kind of sweet.
There's a little.
Yeah. Yes, I can maybe tell this is tofu, but it does have a turkey flavor. Yeah. Like, I wouldn't even say I can tell too much it's tofu. Like, I was like, oh, after a few bites, I was like, oh, this is tofu. But like, it does have the nice firmness of like a meaty, like turkey, you know?
Yeah.
So.
I do wish it was a little bit more firm, but the skin is really nice. There is definitely a nice skin on there. That worked out really well.
And it's not like super soft. I mean, it does have a firmness to it. It works.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we're digging into this side.
Yeah, let me know
and
what
this
you
is
think
the
about
stuffing?
the stuffing. Yeah.
Okay.
And you could do stuffing and turkey if you want.
Okay.
Tofurkey, non-tofurkey.
That is a perfect stuffing.
It's really good.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love the flavor. It tastes like stuffing. I don't know how else to describe it. It just tastes like stuffing.
Yeah, it's a good, I know when we bring this to your parents' house, we're probably going to have gravy for it. But I think it needs to be a little bit more firm, so I'd probably add a little bit more gluten to it.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
And then I would up the flavor of the turkey itself a little bit more. Do you think the turkey's good how it is?
Let me see.
I mean, I'm like going through it. I mean, it's really.
It could use a little bit more flavor. Like if you get a piece without the skin, like just kind of the inside, like the skin gives it a lot of flavor. So I think, if you added a little bit of salt or maybe like nutritional yeast, I don't know.
Yeah, nutritional yeast would be good.
Like just a smidge of that,
then
I think that would be really good.
But just a few tweaks on this, and I think it's perfect.
It's really good to go right now.
Yeah, I mean, how it is, it's good to go. I mean, how it is, it would be great. I think everybody would enjoy it. Yeah, I think that's it, you know? So this is
perfect. This is a great experiment.
Thanks, baby. My tofu roast.
It worked out.
Yeah, we're good, we're good. The skin is dead on.
It's really good.
Okay, well, it's dinner.
Okay.